Hello, good evening. Child protection experts have met with businesses in Derby as they crack down on sexual exploitation. The Say Something If You See Something campaign follows several high-profile cases of child sex abuse in the Midlands in recent years. Phil Brewster reports.
2012, and cameras capture two girls entering a hotel lobby in Derby. The man following them is John Shaw, who over a period of 10 months picked up vulnerable young girls from the streets and plied them with alcohol, drugs and gifts in return for sexual favours. And last month, 6 men were banned from contact with young girls after Birmingham City Council used civil injunctions to block suspected child sexual exploitation. So how best to protect the young and vulnerable? Today, child protection teams hit the streets of Derby, talking to taxi drivers, takeaways and landlords to raise awareness of child sexual exploitation. The campaign, called Say Something If You See Something, is designed to help licensed premises protect under-18s from sexual exploitation, trafficking and other forms of child abuse.
Young people going into hotels without an adult, all of a similar age, paying in cash, appear to be drinking or ordering drinks when there are people in there under 18.
Carol Groom is the landlady of a pub in Derby city centre. She's backing the campaign and says as a parent it's an issue close to her heart.
When you've got younger children and grandchildren, it makes you more, you look out for things more, I think. And this campaign, I think, makes you even more aware.
In 2011, 2 men, Abid Mohammed Sadiq and Mohammed Rahman Liaquat, were convicted of grooming as many as 26 victims, some as young as 12. These CCTV pictures show them cruising the streets, befriending young girls and showering them with gifts, before subjecting them to physical and sexual abuse. And last year, 7 men were jailed for almost 50 years after targeting as many as 100 young girls at Telford in Shropshire, plying them with drink and drugs, even forcing some of their victims to have sex in parks and churchyards. For many of the victims, the effects of their ordeal are long-lasting.
We do see young people with issues of self-harm, depression and mental health issues, other mental health issues. It's really important that there's long-term support that goes alongside the early intervention and the work to address CSE.
John Shaw was subsequently jailed for just under 5 years after being found guilty of paying for the sexual services of a child. But the dangers to vulnerable children still remain. The hope now is that by making more people aware of the signs of abuse, many more youngsters can be saved from those seeking to do them harm. Phil Brewster, ITV News, Derby.
A woman whose mother died from a brain tumour has gone to Westminster today to try and persuade MPs to allocate more money for research into the condition. Breast cancer and leukemia get around £30 million a year, but brain cancer gets only £3 million, despite it being the cancer that kills most under 40s. Mark Goff reports.
This is Maggie Davis on holiday in America with her daughter Claire. Last year, Maggie was diagnosed with a brain tumour. Within 7 months, she was dead. Claire, with her friends, is now leading a Westminster campaign to get more funding into brain tumour research. It's the biggest killer of children and adults under 40, yet receives some of the least in government funding. Claire, from Nuneaton, was shocked at how quickly the disease in her mother progressed.
She had mild coordination problems. Every time she sat down she'd spill a drink, and she said that she had problems with her speech. And I just thought, she'd mentioned it to me, and I just told her that she was being she was getting older, she was being silly. And then she was writing Christmas cards, and she noticed that her handwriting was really strange. So she said to my stepdad, I think this is wrong, I need to see a doctor. And he said, okay, we'll make you an appointment. She said, no, I need to go to the A&E department now, because I know there's something wrong with me.
Claire and her friends have raised £30,000 for the charity Brain Tumour Research, which wants the government to give more money for studies into its causes. Over the last 12 years, £32 million has been given by the government every year for breast cancer research, £27 million a year for leukemia research, but just £3.5 million for brain tumour research.
The problem with brain tumour research is that it's extremely complicated. There are 120 different types of brain tumour, that we've succeeded in other areas, and sometimes the funding has gone into the areas that are already successful, i.e. breast cancer and leukemia. And also, unfortunately, we don't have the long-term survivors who can champion our cause, because a diagnosis of a brain tumour can sometimes mean a lifespan of less than a year. We want £35 million a year to be put into brain tumour research over the next 10 years.
I would feel like my mum's memory and my friend's passion for trying to bring this to the attention of the government could potentially save other people's lives, or at least prolong them and make them more comfortable.
This evening, Claire will be at Westminster trying to persuade MPs to give more money for brain tumour research so that no one else loses a loved one like she did. Mark Goff, ITV News, Nuneaton.
A review has found that opportunities were missed to help a 22-year-old mother who was murdered by her children's father. Natasha Trevis was stabbed in a taxi in Birmingham by Junior Oakes in 2012. He's now serving a life sentence. The Domestic Homicide Review says various agencies involved with the family, including the police and council, missed chances to prevent her death. Changes have now been made to the way the city deals with domestic violence.
Absolutely, there are failures in the Domestic Homicide Review that relate to each of the agencies, and we obviously accept those failures, and we regret the fact that Natasha died, and hence the condolences to her family and friends. But we are absolutely committed to ensuring that we have the right investment with the right people and the right skills and training to deliver effectively for victims going forward.
Ukrainian soldiers injured during fighting in their country will be treated at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham. The soldiers will have reconstructive surgery at the specialist facility for battlefield injuries. The first patient arrived this week and a second will arrive in January. Medical teams will travel to Kiev in the new year to identify more service personnel that they can help. A horse sanctuary near Bromsgrove in Worcestershire says it's so full that staff are forced to turn away horses every single week. The animal charity says the situation is likely to get worse as the number of people wanting to get rid of their horses continues to rise. Victoria Davis reports.
This horse was once used purely to breed. She had so many foals, her body caved in. This animal charity in Withall rescued her and nursed her back to health. But now the sanctuary is operating at full capacity and every week is being forced to turn horses and ponies away.
I get calls regularly about people wanting to give up their horses to the sanctuary because they can't afford to keep them anymore. Every week I have a phone call or email about that. So it is getting quite sort of epidemic. We have to be really, really careful about the amount of horses we take in, and we're at 25 now, which really is saturation for us, especially in the winter with the amount of food they eat and hay they eat. So we can't really take any more anyway.
Sue Gessie, who runs the Animal Healing Trust, says the number of people wanting to get rid of their horses has now become a real issue, with the winter months a particular problem.
With some people, they just decide that it's too much hard work, especially in the winter, because it is hard work in the winter. So this time of year we get a lot of calls because people are finding that getting up in the cold and the rain and the wind, it's just too much for people. 8 years ago I was just taking on horses that were either abused or neglected or had real big issues with them, whereas now I'm getting more and more requests to take horses just because people literally don't want them.
Animal charities say this country is suffering from an equine welfare crisis. It's estimated there are 7,000 horses and ponies at risk, and even the largest horse sanctuaries are at saturation point.
We certainly get an increase of calls through the centre at this time of year with the costs increasing. We do get more calls from perhaps owners that are really struggling financially as well. It's a huge problem and it seems to increase year on year, so all the charities are trying to raise awareness and trying to help as many horses as they can.
Sue has previously won an award at the House of Lords for her animal care, and she uses natural treatments alongside traditional medicine. But she says without more funding or land, she can't help any more horses, and that, she says, is heartbreaking. Victoria Davis, ITV News.
Right, let's take a look at the weather forecast now. With the details, here's Lucy Verisami.
Wishing you a warm winter. Gas Central Heating from More Than Gas Heating. sponsors the ITV local weather.
Hello to you again. A very good evening. Well, a cold night ahead. Temperatures are falling away in the next few hours. Close to freezing point out in the sticks, I should think. So turning increasingly frosty here. For the rest of us, a patchy rather than a sharp frost. The breeze keeping any notable mist and fog at bay. And then into tomorrow morning, well, colder than it was this morning, that's for sure, especially for those up early doors. We'll see cloud come and go. Some brighter breaks in between. Not full-blown blue skies, but I'm optimistic of some sparkly sunshine at some point or another. And again, temperatures stay on the low side. Quite a chilly feel out there. I'll see you again soon. Have a good night.
Gas Central Heating from Northern Gas Heating sponsors the ITV local weather.
And that brings you up to date with the news and the weather tonight. Don't forget, for plenty more details on all our stories, you can check the website, as always, itv.com/central. We'll be back during Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock in the morning, but from the late team, do enjoy what's left of your Monday evening. Bye-bye.